Man, what a day do we live in where my phone is actually better than my camera. Hey everybody, Alex here, and welcome to another video. I guess another sort of update video. Now, if you're watching this in the year of our Lord 2020, I don't even need to say what's going on. This hair has not looked like this since like 2010. And in a way, I kind of like it, but at the same time, I'm kind of annoyed by it because it really makes all this gray come out. And hang on, check out the mullet action back there. Look at this. I'm like on the verge of doing like the whole samurai ponytail thing back there. But anyway, hey, how you doing? Um, Obviously, I haven't put up a video. Obviously, with everything going on, there's been a lot of you have reached out to me and stuff, just asking, "Hey, how you doing? Hope everything's well. Hope everything's safe." Because Jada New Yorker and me, the media does a really good job at making this place look like a demilitarized zone. Other than bonfires going up everywhere, honest, I haven't seen shit. The news is very good at making the worst and the negative sounding more worse, more negative than it actually is. Not to say it wasn't hit or miss for a bit, but I have a friend who is military who was working the Jacob Javits, which was like a field hospital, and he was just like, dude, it's a regular hospital. That's all there is to it. He's like, they're making it sound like it's the beginning of the end, which it's not. That being said, though, everything is very grimdark, I guess you could say. So what's going on since the last update video I did, which was back in February? Obviously, I work in hospitality, so my industry has been hit tremendously. And I don't think it's actually going to recover until at least 18 months from now. And I said that 3 months ago. And when all this happened, for what I do, I had in confirmed group business, I had literally within the span of a week, about $60,000 just vanish. Makes sense. Don't blame it. I get it. I absolutely get it. But because of that incredible loss of revenue, all but a handful of people from my hotel were placed on furlough, which, if you don't know what that means, that essentially means you are on layoff, but your job is protected. And I was one of those people too. You don't really, typically you keep like executive committee, I guess you could say. And technically by title, I'm the director of sales, but my hotel is very small, and I guess they opted just not to pay my salary. So, okay, cool. So I was placed on furlough back in, I guess, like the end of March. And at first I was kind of like, ugh. And then at the same time, it was a double hit because on one standpoint, I was kind of relieved that I didn't have to go out in this wackiness. But on this other standpoint, egotistically, I was kind of like, what the fuck? And it honestly, it worked out for the better, I would say. My girlfriend works in education, and she's been working from home with the virtual learning. And I'm not going to go into it, but a bunch of you guys already know. And she became sick with this wackiness. And I've been saying this, and I'll say it again. Take it seriously. Some people, including myself, wrote it off. You shouldn't. It's not pretty. It's frightening, it's scary, and it's relentless because it's new, to say the least. Everything's good now, or better. And in April, I was called to go back to work, But based on everything that happened and my exposure, I was like, okay, like ethically speaking, I want to get tested before I actually go back because I don't know. And the process of getting a test is, well, at the time when I tried to, it was ludicrous. Basically, you call a phone number, and then within 3 weeks, somebody calls you back and says, "Hey, can you get to this place?" And it's nowhere near where you live. And the woman who spoke to my girlfriend originally asked her if she could do a drive-up test, and she said no because we don't own a car. And then she said, "Can somebody drive you?" And then once I heard that, I was kind of like, "What the fuck sense does that make?" Like, let's get somebody else in there while we're at it. But eventually we did. We both came back negative. And I went back to work. And it's very strange, to say the least. It's not what it used to be, of course. It's not what it is. And New York City is, for the most part, I can be honest with you, there's more people in the street now. But everything is still closed. In terms of like a social distancing standpoint, this city is going to have its work cut out for it because, as I've said, we don't build out, we build up, and we're all literally stacked upon each other. And speaking from like a multi-industry standpoint, from a commercial perspective, do all these offices necessarily need to exist? Do these number of people necessarily need to exist? Transportation, how's that going to affect that? Restaurant industry, hotel industry, tourism, all this stuff. It basically, this whole thing proved, you just do this to the bottom of a stack of cards and the whole thing can just come crumbling down. And unfortunately, we're stuck in the middle of it. And my poor dad, he's been trapped at home since February, pretty much. And it's so weird because it's like, he's older and he honestly has nothing to do. And he's like, "I'm bored. What do we do? How do we fix this?" And I just tell him, like, "Fix what? Like, you can't. It's beyond your means." But I guess that's like the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. But in the process of all this stuff going on, I've been playing a lot of games. And, I think as a hobby, this is probably the best time for this hobby. Before the last of the retail closed here, I went to Best Buy to make a return. And somebody was actually buying a PS4 and like a stack of games. Like, they were prepared to lock themselves away for whatever amount of time they needed. Or they got their stimulus check, one or the other, I'm not really sure. But, I think that's really where this hobby and the game industry in general is going to succeed. Because digital distribution, it makes it easier from that standpoint. But now, we've seen with people being home, now the infrastructure comes into play, in terms of internet speeds and a lack of equality in performance across the country and all this stuff. From an economic standpoint, this is a lot bigger than just, we have to go sit in our houses. It really is. And I do feel like a lot of people don't recognize that. And then when we see game releases get pushed back and delayed and whatnot, they're like, there's some technical difficulty with the work from home. People don't understand it. They're like, why? Well, let's be honest. I've been working from home for 3 days. It's very distracting for me personally. From a technological standpoint, my work laptop sucks. It's a piece of shit. And, at the same time, now we are being asked to create like Zoom presentations because this is going to be the new thing after this whole stupidity and the memes with Zoom calls. I'll tell you, my background was King Kai's Planet for like a week. Anyway, so we have to create these things. And, from working from home for the day that I was supposed to do my demo presentation, obviously I have all this video equipment from YouTube. So I got out the lights, I got out the camera. I was thinking maybe I should set up a second camera. Like, maybe I should do some picture within picture. Like, I try to, obviously this platform can't do all that, but my colleague who was reviewing it was like, wow, your lighting is really good. And I'm like, if you only knew how bad it is. But I finally figured out the best way to get my lighting. And, and I had the mic set up and, I showed her, I was like, I have a pop filter and all this crap. And, she's like, why do you have all this? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I used to do YouTube and poorly. But to her, this is like super impressive, even though it's basically just, stuff I bought out of a bargain bin at Best Buy. And, I was like, for guitar recording. Meanwhile, I don't know why I would need lighting for just recording music. Anyway, unless I was doing video. But, at the same time with all that, I get distracted. I spent more time trying to get the lighting right and the camera angle and the acoustics than actually doing the presentation. Then when I ultimately did the presentation, I rushed through the whole fucking thing because I had already spent an hour and a half doing this because it was Friday before Memorial Day, and I was thinking if I finish early, I can potentially play some more Witcher 3. That's why personally, working from home is going to be a challenge for me, and I imagine that may be the challenge for several other people too. Never mind the fact that people's kids are stuck at home. And it makes sense why there's delays, and when people work from home, this whole like remote thing too. When you're in a building, you could say we'll say 9 to 5. Everybody's here working from 9 to 5. At home, you're not necessarily working 9 to 5, but you could be working more or less, depending. You could work from anywhere, And I'm not even going to get into that whole case study. That's just boring shit. And this is already pretty boring as it is, 12 minutes in. But with games. Get back on topic, Alex. I played a lot of games since I've been out. And, I said, check the time. I got like 10 minutes. And, honestly, as I said, this is like the best time for this hobby. Backlog, distraction, going into a world where you don't have to deal with all that crap outside. And in the process of that too, it does it helps, but it also hinders, and this is what I'm talking about. Playing certain games, like I'll use The Witcher 3 because I just finished that. And quick review, amazing game, beautiful. I played on PC. The last 10 hours of fetch quest bullshit, somebody that whoever was the editor for the main writer of that game, somebody needs to go to that person's house and kick him in the junk, because that last 10 hours didn't need to be 10 hours. It could have been 5, personally. Dialogue was great. Characters were excellent, but all that shit just did not need to happen. That could have been a cutscene. It could have been something else. But anyway, you see all these social interactions in the game. People hugging, the romance, going into bars and pubs and, interactions in the streets and all that stuff. And you kind of miss it. You get a longing, So it's like, wow, this hobby really helps in pulling you out of it and making you remember how stuff, quote unquote, used to be. It kind of makes you upset. So I found myself sitting there playing some of these games. I'm like, I'm having a good time playing it, but it pulled something here. And eventually things will get back to some form of normalcy, of course. But this really just makes it like a hurry up and wait, I guess you could say, depending on what you play. But certain games I played, and I really should have pulled up a list because I really went through a lot. Well, I finished Trails of Cold Steel. Sorry. Trails in the Sky the Third. And, many games I played, this is where I'm getting with this. I find I love the hobby, and this hobby was great for pulling me out of some of this nonsense. It's not even burnout. I just got annoyed. It's like you can only play so many games before the hobby just doesn't become fun anymore, Trails of Cold Steel the Third, The Witcher 3, Deadly Premonition, what else did I play? Neo 2, finished AI Somnium Files, which was a really good visual novel, by the way. Maybe I'll just do a video of what I played in quarantine. Maybe I'll do something else like that. But for the moment, I just feel like I think, it's like I kind of just wanted to say, hey, I'm still around, been watching YouTube, and I've been seeing a lot of changes in the YouTube channels I do watch, primarily the game hunting ish videos and channels rather, because they can't do it. And they've been looking to do different content and everything else, and that's great. Like, that's excellent. Some of it I think they should keep as a mainstay. One of the travel channels I watch, since he's been in quarantine, what he's been doing, maybe you know him, Strictly Dumpling Mikey channel. A lot of people watch him. He's literally just been ordering food from restaurants that do delivery via mail to his house, and then just doing like life lessons and like stories and all that stuff. And it's like a conversation piece. It's actually kind of fun. I find myself sitting down with food and watching them. And then I go, how the hell is that man eating 4.5 pizzas? And I realize, oh, the video is 20 minutes. He's probably been filming for 6 hours. But it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. I think maybe, depending on how this comes out, maybe I'll start doing videos again lightly, I guess. I don't know what my time is going to look like. As I said, a lot of stuff is up in the air, and I don't necessarily know where stuff is going, real life and otherwise. But I guess we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, just want to say hi, show you the hair, I guess. I've been Alex, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.